It's Groundhog Day and temperatures are below average across many areas in the country. Look at Ottawa at -15 with snow, Toronto -12 with snow, over towards Halifax -10. It is snowy across the east. A little bit of snow in Calgary, you're at -12. Winnipeg will be sunny but dry and -17 in Vancouver. You're seeing that rain. How about an escape? Go to NASA. It's 26 degrees on Tuesday. Yes, a bit of cloud cover, but warmer than here. Miami will be up to 23 degrees with a mix of sun and cloud. And blizzard-like conditions, certainly the name of the game today for lots of eastern Canada, Ontario, straight across to the Atlantic. So blizzard-like conditions continue. Extreme cold begins to creep in as well, with a lot of extreme cold warnings in place. And Groundhog Day results. We'll have some results coming up with Kasha-Badurka and Wyerton. It is going not a fun drive out there. Glad you could join us this morning. I'm meteorologist Nicole Karkic. Looking at the radar, you can see right here the dark blue swath from Toronto to London moving out of Windsor, so that's an improvement there for you. But a lot of roads, I'm hearing on Twitter, you can't even pass them. A lot of the trucks working very hard to get out there, but some areas just haven't been plowed. Towards Kingston and Brockville, heavy snow right now, and Ottawa is going to see that snow really picking up within the next hour. Now, winds out of the northeast generally towards Kingston, where a blowing snow advisory is in place, towards Prince Edward County, and the winter storm warnings blanketing southern Ontario. Extreme cold in Barrie, Newmarket, as well as places like Kingston. For this afternoon, winds are going to be a little less intense, so not blowing the snow around as much, and the snow will end by the afternoon, but leaving behind all that snow to clean up, and of course the winds still going to be a part of the problem. Additional snow we have moving into Atlantic Canada, so there are blizzard warnings in place through New Brunswick, including Fredericton as well as Moncton. Area marked in white, seeing 40 to 50 centimeters of snow, and then it moves into Newfoundland. Stay with us. Our Storm Watch coverage continues. And there is much more to go. We've got Chrissy Van joining us right now in Windsor. And Chrissy, I understand that you really can't get anywhere because the plows haven't come through near your hotel. We certainly haven't, but this one is one of the biggest ones a lot of areas have seen in southern Ontario so far this season. We've got London in the dark blue right now, Toronto as well, Hamilton up towards Barrie, but notice how it ends just near the Parry Sound region, but it certainly is spreading across Kingston and Brockville at this point. Ottawa, certainly for that morning commute, you're going to get into the heavy snow and it will continue through the day. This blue from Prince Edward County to Kingston is a blowing snow advisory, so gusts up to 60 kilometers an hour. But we don't only have the blowing snow. We've got heavy amounts of snow here in pink for the winter storm warnings. And let's add another warning on top. The extreme cold warnings for Peterborough. It's Groundhog Day and temperatures are below average across many areas in the country. Look at Ottawa at -15 with snow, Toronto -12 with snow, over towards Halifax -10. It is snowy across the east. A little bit of snow in Calgary, you're at -12. Winnipeg will be sunny but dry and -17 in Vancouver. You're seeing that rain. How about an escape? Go to NASA. It's 26 degrees on Tuesday. Yes, a bit of cloud cover, but warmer than here. Miami will be up to 23 degrees with a mix of sun and cloud. Good morning. Happy Monday. Waking up to piles of snow across parts of southern Ontario. Taking a look at this morning, still snowing heavily from London to Toronto. It's going to really pick up in Ottawa for you right now. And it's cleared out of Windsor, but you've got 35 centimeters of snow to deal with. Through the afternoon, yes, it clears out, leaving behind some very strong northerly winds, which will be gusting between 60 to even 70 kilometers an hour. How about Tuesday afternoon? A little bit of snow pushes through, not as much as today, but it will still be a little bit cloudy. This is our additional snowfall, 10 to 20 centimeters on top of what we've already picked up. Let's go to Kasha-Badurka, who's checking in with us in Wyerton, Ontario, where we're going to see what Wyerton Willie has to say about the winter season. And I'm wondering what Cash is thinking. Does she want the early spring or the longer winter? I think it's going to be the early spring. Now, blowing snow advisories, winter storm warnings. The winter storm warnings are blanketed in pink. We've got the blowing snow advisories from Prince Edward County towards Kingston, so gusts up to 60 kilometers an hour there. And then, yes, in purple, let's add on extreme cold warnings. It feels closer to the -30s today, and this afternoon, -12 in Toronto. Let's check in with Mark Robinson right now, who's out in the field. Mark, where did you travel to?
Back inside to you.
All right, thanks, Mark and Kevin there. So as we look at the radar, you can see a big expanse with this low. Started as a Texas low, picked up some Gulf moisture, and still a blanket of blue. The green is the rain that they're seeing stateside, but places like Chicago have picked up a foot of snow.
Hamilton's getting hammered like a bag of nails. I mean, we've got serious lake effect snow and the system snow, and it's very powdery. It's blowing around. Chrissy Van in Windsor. Chrissy, 35 centimeters of snow. How are you making out there? Brutal.
I'm going to get started here.
Yeah, and you know what, Chris, with the kids staying home, it's not the good packing snow
No, I
for
know.
snowmen
I know.
and snowball fights.
Yes.
So, you know, it's very cold, too. Blizzard-like conditions continue. Extreme cold begins to creep in. And yes, we're going to look at the Groundhog Day results.
All right. And this storm, by the way, is moving into Atlantic Canada as well. Yet another one. So this is a wide shot. The low-pressure system moving across Pennsylvania, putting Ontario on the snowy side of this storm. And it'll taper off west to east through the morning and into the afternoon, but very treacherous conditions in the meantime.
Absolutely. And the additional snowfall, Chris, I mean, on top of at least 10 centimeters in Toronto, we've got 10 to 20. The record for today in Toronto is 12 centimeters. I'm betting we're going to beat that. And then up towards Parry Sound, it does end, but Ottawa this morning, certainly getting into it. The criteria for blizzard conditions, Chris. And then we turn our attention to Nathan Coleman. So we're going to be pretty cold here in places like Montreal, minus 16, blowing snow as well. Ottawa, minus 15, and messy weather across southern Ontario with more snow through the afternoon. Calgary, you're minus 12 with light snow as well.
Nicole.
All right, thanks, Mark and Kevin. We've got the snow on the radar right here, clearing out of Windsor, but dropped 35 centimeters of snow so far. London over towards Toronto, really up towards Barrie, but go north towards Parry Sound, and it's just some windy conditions. A little bit of snow starting to creep into Ottawa, so that morning commute is going to get very messy for you. How much more snow? Well, look at this. We're adding an additional 10 to 20 centimeters around Hamilton, Niagara, over towards Brockville, a little bit less up towards Barrie and Haliburton, but the snow is going to be blowing all around, so that will decrease visibility. As of 5 a.m. Hamilton, visibility was 0 to 200 meters in front of you. Kasia Badurka is joining us in Wyerton, where you're feeling the cold, and we're awaiting what Wyerton Willie has to say on what's left with winter. Yeah, that's right. We pretty much know that it's going to be a longer winter. We are going to check in with Wyerton, though. Willie, as we look at this afternoon, Toronto minus 12, feeling closer to minus 23. There are extreme cold warnings this morning around Newmarket, over towards Bowmanville, Barrie as well. So feeling closer to the minus 30s in the morning. The afternoon in the north, it's going to be sunnier and dry, but still cold in places like Marathon, feeling closer to minus 22. We've got another storm moving into Atlantic Canada for today. It's the same one that's in Ontario and Quebec for today. Montreal also in a blowing snow advisory.
All right, thank you very much, Chrissy. And some breaking news from Nova Scotia.
Yes. Shibenacadie Sam saw his shadow.
Yes.
So that means we've got more winter, 6 more weeks of winter left. And it's going to be bitter.
There you go. Developing stories, blizzard-like conditions continue in parts of southwestern Ontario. Extreme cold is there as well. And the Groundhog Day results. Just want to mention, Chrissy touched on this.
Yes.
Windsor schools closed, Niagara, Hamilton, Waterloo schools closed in Toronto. A lot of schools are open, but buses are canceled. You wanted to call ahead, check your school to find out if the kids have a snow day or not.
Yeah, that's right. A lot of universities as well, I've heard, are canceled, closed too. This is the radar returns. Moved out of Windsor at this point, Chris, but Toronto, that dark blue, the heavier bands, Brockville, Ottawa, getting into it right now, so it's going to be really slow going there.
High impact, the 400, the 404, the 401 as well, and certainly the QEW, just to name a few areas. Blowing snow advisories in place in Kingston, all the way out towards Quebec City. Here's some snowfall totals as of 5 a.m., and they're just keeping on climbing. And it's tough to measure this kind of snow because of the drifts. You look at one side of the house, it may not look all that bad. The other side of the house, you've got 4-foot high drifts.
And it's that very light, fluffy snow.
Yes.
It is not the packing snow that's good for making snowmen,
Not really.
so it doesn't stick there either. We do have the winter storm warnings in place, and let's add on the extreme cold, too,
That's
Chris.
right.
It feels like the minus 30s, and there's that Prince Edward County towards Quebec, the blowing snow advisories.
All right, yeah, so lots going on. So how much more snow could you see? Well, additionally, another 10 to 20 centimeters, not out of the question. The hardest hit areas, as we mentioned, where we get that additional enhancement off the lake. So, and this will generally taper off west to east through the morning and afternoon. Blowing snow remains a concern.
That's right, and as we move towards the east,
20 to 40 centimeters of snow fell over the weekend. That's on top of the 30 to 40 plus centimeters last week. And we've got another 30, 40 plus centimeters coming.
and it's all attached to this low stateside,
Oh, my.
canceled thousands of flights moving into the the Maritime Provinces this morning.
Yeah.
So ahead of that, schools are actually being let out early for the kids so you can get home safe. Rainfall warnings as well for parts of Nova Scotia, Chris.
Coastal areas, but keep in mind, Halifax, you're going to get about 15 centimeters of snow before it changes over to rain. Beefy amounts. You get towards Amherst, Nova Scotia, through the Annapolis. I mean, you're going to see over a foot of snow, and PEI as well. Very strong winds overnight tonight into tomorrow.
And we do have places like Moncton here in the white.
Oh,
40 to 50 centimeters of snow, people. And then by the afternoon, think about that rush hour commute home for Newfoundland.
Yeah.
That's when you're going to see it really push through there. So we've got this one moving out, Chris, on Tuesday, but right behind it,
potentially another one. This one does not look as strong as this one here. There's a lot of wind warnings across Newfoundland. Again, this is really overnight tonight and tomorrow. We're talking about 100+ kilometer-an-hour winds.
From Toronto over towards Ottawa. Glad you could join us. Meteorologist Nicole Karkic with you. Yes, this morning, not just the snow, but gusts between 60 to 70 kilometers an hour. While it ends by the afternoon, still, winds are an issue, and then a little bit more snow moving through tomorrow, but nothing like what we're seeing today. Let's pile on more snow. This is an additional 10 to 20 centimeters of snow in the dark blue extending towards Brockville. Ottawa, a little bit less, and for Montreal, there are blowing snow advisories. Then it moves into Atlantic Canada. Well, it's Groundhog Day, and while we can always trust the friendly rodent, let's look to the experts right now in our long-range forecast. All right, thanks so much, Mark and Kevin. We'll check in with them again. So we're looking at that snow continuing to blanket London towards Toronto along the 401. Really heavy snow in the dark blue towards Brockville. And Ottawa this morning, the commute is going to be messy. Here's our additional snowfall from 7 a.m. onward. So we're looking at Kingston towards Brockville in the most about 10 to 20. In the Toronto, Oshawa, Niagara Falls region, it's an additional 5 to 10, but that's on top of the already 10 to 12 centimeters that we've seen in parts of the Greater Toronto region. As of 5 a.m. local time, this is our visibility and the wind gusts. 0 to 200 meters for Hamilton, under 600 meters for places like Markham. So that will be ongoing for today. Just going to see the blowing, the drifting snow, winter storm warnings. Extreme cold roads aren't plowed in a lot of areas. Now let's check in with Kasia Badurka. It's Groundhog Day, and she is in Wyerton, Ontario. Okay, thanks so much, Kasia. So for this afternoon, we're looking at a lot of cloud cover and minus 12 in Toronto, feeling closer to minus 23. This morning, though, in places like Bowmanville, Newmarket, up towards Barrie, there are extreme cold warnings in place. It feels closer to minus 35 as you head out the door. And then the radar here showing as this system is stateside as well, with the green showing the rain. Guess what? Another storm system moving through today. Lots of schools getting out early in the Maritime Provinces ahead of the storm. Moncton over towards parts of PEI, 40 to 50 centimeters of snow, and then it moves into Newfoundland into Tuesday. Nova Scotia, you're going to get some rain with this, as well as the risk of freezing rain and ice pellets. So that system departs on Tuesday. Up next, another one moving through southern Ontario on Wednesday, dropping a general 5 centimeters of snow, and then moving into the Maritime Provinces. The next round of storms, however, through eastern Canada from Ontario to the Atlantic region, not as impactful as what we have today. And towards the west coast, there are some snowfall warnings in place through northern BC, and we've got snow today in Alberta. Calgary picking up under 5 centimeters of snow, but towards the Rockies, seeing a little bit more. Stay with us. All right, thanks so much, Chrissy. She's reporting again from Windsor, where it has cleared out, but the problems are going to be on the roads around London, Toronto getting hit really hard. Just looking at highway conditions, and the DVP 401 around Toronto, QEW east towards Ottawa, looking really bad on those highways. Kingston towards Brockville, yes, you're seeing the snow in it. It's really moving into Ottawa right now, so as the morning goes on, it will get worse. Winter storm warnings in place, London to Toronto, blowing snow advisory from Prince Edward County over towards Kingston, and then we've got blowing snow extending towards places like Montreal and Quebec City, and extreme cold as well. On top of that, we've got feeling like the minus 30s for the morning, minus 20s into the afternoon. Our additional snow will be 5 to 10 centimeters, Hamilton to Peterborough. In the dark blue, however, it is going to be an additional 10 to 20. Let's turn our attention to Nathan Coleman, who's joining us in Shubenacadie, Nova Scotia, where we know what the result is. So tell us.
So lots more winter to go just yet.
All right, thanks, Nathan. So Shubenacadie Sam predicting 6 more weeks of winter. Puxatawny Phil as well, stateside predicting 6 more weeks of winter. So we're going to see what Wyerton Willie has to say coming up on the program. We've got blizzard warnings in place across New Brunswick, so gusts over 80 kilometers an hour. Notice the green here across the Nova Scotia into Cape Breton Island. That's because you're going to see snow changing over to rain. But yeah, getting hit hard in places like Moncton with 40 to 50 centimeters into Tuesday. Conditions pretty bad here. We've got lots of snow continuing to move across southern Ontario. 401, the 400 up towards Barrie, pretty messy. And then it's going to make its way into the Maritime provinces this morning as well. We've got some sea effect off the Gulf of St. Lawrence for you in Newfoundland and some flurries across the Avalon Peninsula. So take your time. It's pretty messy in the east. As of 5 a.m. local time, Hamilton 15 to 20 centimeters or more. Toronto 10 centimeters. But there is a lot more to go. In the dark blue, an additional 10 to 20.
Moment inside to you, Nicole.
All right, thanks so much, Mark. Talking about these temperatures, I'm just getting goosebumps. The cold spot in the province of Ontario is Timmins at minus 40. Now, the radar is dropping out a bit, but yes, the snow blanketing the greater Toronto region towards Brockville, Ottawa. Things are picking up for you right now. The snowfall total so far, Hamilton 15 to 20. Now, Windsor at 36 centimeters, probably going to hold at that because it's ended for you, but we're going to get more towards Trenton, and that will be an additional 10 to 20 centimeters potentially. Extra longer than usual. We're checking in with Kasha Badurka right now. It's Groundhog Day. We've already heard the results from Puxatawny Phil stateside. He saw a shadow. Shubenacadie Sam saw a shadow. And what's your prediction for what Wyerton Willie is going to see? All right, so I think that Wyerton Willie is going to be the tiebreaker because we're going to see what happens. As we look at the radar again, stateside, the green is the rain. Thousands of flight cancellations stateside. Chicago at O'Hare Airport, they have seen their 5th largest snowfall total of the entire since record keeping rather. Let me start that again. And as we look at this, we've got the additional snow moving into the Maritime provinces starting this afternoon. For Moncton, 40 to 50 centimeters. So a lot of schools are being let out early because of this impending snow. Too much snow, no snowfall warnings in Alberta at this point, but Calgary, some light snow into the afternoon, under 5 centimeters. So perfect for skiing. And for the morning, Lethbridge is minus 13. Over towards the Prairie provinces, we're looking at cold temperatures, minus 24 in the Pas. Winnipeg is minus 18, but you are going to see the sun and rain this afternoon in Vancouver. Happy Groundhog Day. Nicole Karkic and Chris Murphy with you. We've got Kasha Badurka today in Wyerton with Wyerton Willie.
Nathan Coleman in Shubenacadie Sam will be following all that. And, of course, we've got a big low full of snow, Nicole. And
full of
it's
snow.
Lambasting a lot of places in southern Ontario en route to Atlantic Canada.
Boy, oh boy. Almost blizzard-like conditions in some areas. That means 4 hours of snow or blowing snow, sustained winds at 40 kilometers an hour or greater, and visibility reduced to nil. So the recommendation probably is stay home if you can today. There are already numerous flights cancellations. I'm sure a dozen school closures just around where you live.
Absolutely. And be sure to check both sides of your house before you go out, because you may look out one window and say, that doesn't look all that bad. Then you look at the other window and you got 4 or 5 foot drifts.
Exactly. And
tough to measure. TTM snow.
Tough to measure. Exactly. And we've got the additional snowfall here. 10 to 20 on top of what you've seen. And then north towards Barrie up to Haliburton, 5 to 10. So it kind of ends around the Parry Sound region. But this is blowing, drifting through the day, reaching Ottawa for that morning commute, and Montreal a blowing snow advisory for you.
Most of the snow, falling snow, tapers off by around lunchtime or shortly after, further east a little bit longer. And the wind will gradually ease through the course of the day as well. But the morning is a write-off.
It is. And then Tuesday, some scattered flurries.
Look at square here, this napkin, because I think people in New Brunswick are ready to do this. They're waving the white flag. We surrender because, I mean, we've got another 30 or 40 centimeters of snow coming. Are you kidding me?
Exactly.
No, we're not.
All right, we'll talk more about how much snow you're seeing in Atlantic Canada with this next storm. Stay with us as Storm Watch continues. It's Groundhog Day, and temperatures are below average across many areas in the country. Look at Ottawa at minus 15 with snow. Toronto, minus 12 with snow. Over towards Halifax, minus 10. It is snowy across the east. A little bit of snow in Calgary. You're at minus 12. Winnipeg will be sunny but dry, and minus 17 in Vancouver. You're seeing that rain. How about an escape? Go to NASA. It's 26 degrees on Tuesday. Yes, a bit of cloud cover, but warmer than here. Miami will be up to 23 degrees with a mix of sun and cloud. Happy Monday, and quite a Monday it is. Blizzard-like conditions continue for the east. Extreme cold creeping in, and Groundhog Day results. We've got Puxatawny Phil.
Yes.
Saw a shadow.
Yes.
Shubenacadie Sam saw a shadow.
So 2 out of the 3 main prognosticators have seen their shadow. That means 6 more weeks of winter. So without further ado, let's go to Wyerton. We'll join Kasia Vidurka and find out what happens with Willie.
It's Groundhog Day, and temperatures are below average across many areas in the country. Look at Ottawa at -15 with snow. Toronto -12 with snow. Over towards Halifax -10. It is snowy across the east. A little bit of snow in Calgary. You're at -12. Winnipeg will be sunny but dry, and -17 in Vancouver. You're seeing that rain. How about an escape? Go to NASA. It's 26 degrees on Tuesday. Yes, a bit of cloud cover, but warmer than here. Miami will be up to 23 degrees with a mix of sun and cloud. Blizzard-like conditions continue. Extreme cold begins to creep in, and the Groundhog Day results. So we've got Shubenacadie Sam, who said that it was going to be a 6 more weeks of winter. Puxatawny Phil also said 6 more weeks of winter. But on the other hand, you had Wyerton Willie, who said it was going to be an early spring. So you decide for yourself. Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal as well, and a blowing snow advisory. Quebec City, and then the Maritime provinces. Guess what? Another storm. So this is our additional snowfall. Toronto has picked up at least 12 centimeters, Windsor 35, Hamilton 20, and there's a little bit more to go there. But in the darker blue, that's where we'll see an additional 10 to 20. Now, even if the snow stops falling, say late this afternoon, which is when we're forecasting it to stop, we're still going to see winds out of the north gusting between 40 to 60, maybe 70 kilometers an hour. So all that snow is going to be blowing all around. Notice how it doesn't go far past Parry Sound. It really is southern eastern Ontario. Let's go out to Mark Robinson right now, who's with Kevin. Tell us what you guys are up to.
We'll go back inside you.
Oh, okay. Well, I hope that they can help them. Oh, boy. Not fun to be stuck like that. But Mark and Kevin, they're going to do their best. As we can see here, we have winter storm warnings marked in pink. That means not just the snow, but the blowing snow advisories. Prince Edward County towards Kingston, over to Quebec City. And that purple, which is starting to be dropped off, that is extreme cold warnings, where we've got Barrie included over towards Peterborough, Bowmanville. It just feels closer to -35 this morning as well through some parts. And also a blanket of warnings for the storm approaching you. So as it exits parts of Ontario and Quebec, it will make its way into the Maritime provinces late this morning. So a lot of schools in the Maritimes are seeing a close to the end of the day being a little bit earlier, a few hours earlier for the Maritime provinces. Moncton, how much for you? About 40 to 50 centimeters in the white. Blizzard warnings across New Brunswick, and for Nova Scotia, not only do we have some snow, but rainfall warnings as well. So very messy. Newfoundland by about 5 o'clock. It shifts towards you, and we've got the western shores picking up over 40 centimeters of snow. As that system departs on Tuesday, another one on the way for southern Ontario Wednesday. This round, less snow as well as for Atlantic Canada.